Hello and welcome back to this week's episode of Talking Freight, the weekly freight series brought to you by Ceresys, a North American third-party logistics company specializing in transportation technology and solutions. Now, this is our first episode of 2018. Happy New Year. Once again, each week, we are going to bring you the greatest tips and best practices along with strategies for shippers to help them in their quest to reduce transportation costs and increase efficiencies so they can be a well-oiled machine, make sure they get their product on time and for their manufacturing processes from each vendor, and to make sure that they get their product in time to their customers. As customers, as we all know, thanks to Amazon, are demanding their packages faster and faster, on time, and damage-free. Now, we all know that that's not always possible, but that's the perfect scenario. And we guarantee that if you watch us week to week by subscribing to our YouTube channel and you follow these practices that we're going to teach you from all of the expertise knowledge we have here after 20 years of helping shippers in transportation management, you're going to get close to perfection. So we're going to pick up this year with one of the biggest stories that is already taking place. Not only thanks to the recent cold snap and the snowstorms and ice storms that we're seeing across the country, especially here in the Southeast, but due to the backlogs thanks to last year's storms and the huge hurricanes. But another factor is definitely making things bigger, and that's the economy. So what does that all boil down to? Well, an exciting year for shippers as they navigate increased inventories and increased freight flows and securing trucks in conjunction with one of the largest capacity crunches that we'll see in the transportation industry. So join us as today we're going to talk about 2018 and the large capacity crunch that we expect to see. It's shaping up to be one of the extreme capacity crunches in the over-the-road transportation industry. The ongoing recovery efforts after those hurricanes, along with the new ELD mandate that just recently went live in the last few weeks, and the continuing tightening of labor markets, including the truck driver shortage, are pushing the boundaries of the current capacity crunch we're facing. Prior to last year's Hurricane Harvey, 99.2% of all trucking availability and capacity was available to shippers. But since then, it has tightened greatly thanks to all of those factors. But rather than focusing on what has caused the capacity crunch, let's take a closer look at what you can expect in 2018. So let's take a look at the historical capacity crunch, and there's really no other way to put it. It might be the worst capacity crunch in history. Across the board, including UPS, FedEx, and the United States Postal Service, carriers are planning to raise shipping rates. And starting on December 24th on Christmas Eve, UPS Ground, Air, and International Service, as well as FedEx services, will increase on average 4.9%, reflecting increased demand with less capacity. As we know, a 4.9% price hike to base rates doesn't mean a 4.9% increase in your shipping spend. How much your specific prices go up from 2018 largely depends on surcharges. And as we've seen, FedEx and UPS have become increasingly inventive with their accessorial fees. So make sure you're ready to address all of those issues, including accessorial fees, by watching some old videos, especially this accessorial one, where we talked a little bit about that on a previous episode of Talking Freight. Now, the increase in rate is still higher than expected. Meanwhile, the truck driver shortage will grow worse. In fact, more drivers will retire in 2018. As trucking companies have to increase wages, they have to look at things such as quality of life. They have to really work on recruiting truckers more than they ever have before with various incentives. And this is expected to be a major factor in circumventing the staggering number of retiring truckers in 2018. For many small and mid-sized trucking companies, which are often owner-operated, even truckers who have not yet reached retirement age are expected to take an early retirement, instead of facing the potential setbacks from the ELD mandate. Notably, the truck driver shortage is expected to continue to worsen, reflecting little hope in favor of overcoming this driving force behind the capacity crunch. However, that has not stopped carriers and shippers from looking for other ways to overcome this challenge. Let's address some proactive approaches to reducing driver insurance premium to improve the capacity crunch. Part of the problem with the driver shortage and its impact on the capacity crunch rests upon sky-high insurance premiums. Your new truck drivers simply do not have enough experience to access affordable insurance premiums. But US Express, a Chattanooga-based trucking company, is looking to overcome this challenge by purchasing 1,665 international semi-tractors from Navistar International Corporation. These trucks have all the bells and whistles, comes with technology to improve driver safety, and as well as the safety of all the drivers around them. As explained by Clarissa Halls of Trucks.com, ordering those trucks near the end of 2017 puts them on the road in 2018. In addition, other truckers are following suit, which could help prevent the capacity crunch from worsening. Now let's take a look at multi-rate hikes. These could now be the new normal. The outlook of the capacity crunch in 2018 seems to indicate likely increasing rate hikes among national and international carriers, regardless of transportation mode. According to DC Velocity, carriers are also leveraging and working to shrink overhead costs. In fact, Old Dominion has implemented in protocols and technologies to increase trailer density, resulting in more available space for trips. Now let's talk about how the capacity crunch is affected by Amazon's dominance, especially in last mile logistics. Amazon is also set to take center stage in impacting the capacity crunch in 2018. In a recent Amazon press release, the e-commerce giant announced a new service for Prime members that will revolutionize last mile delivery. As seen in the past, such as when Amazon launched free 2-day shipping for Prime members, Amazon's launch of a new service will bring standards to the logistics industry. Amazon Key will enable in-home delivery and secure home access for guests and service appointments. This means last mile delivery will likely evolve across the country to include delivering packages within homes, including unpacking and setup of products. Obviously, the service is still in infancy, but it will put an added burden on existing last mile logistics providers and carriers to go beyond today's simple deliveries. Now let's take a look at regulations and how they're impacting the capacity crunch. Although the ELD mandate is not going away, shippers retain a glimmer of hope that implementation can be pushed back if Congress acts. However, the recent political backlash from actions on the controlled side of the aisle is likely to serve as a continued suppressant for repealing regulations. Without getting into a heavy political question, midterm elections often act as a counterweight to the outcome of presidential elections. So if the controlling party of the House or 7 seats in the Senate swing the other direction, regulations become even stricter guidelines by the end of 2018. So what does this all mean for shippers? Shippers need to understand the capacity crunch. 2018 is on track to be one for the record books, and those that fail to recognize this game-changing catalyst will be doomed to fail. However, shippers can learn a few things by looking at how previous shippers and companies responded to capacity crunches in the recent past. Well, that's it for this week's episode of Talking Freight. We hope you learned a little bit about what's going on and causing the 2018 capacity crunch that is only going to get worse. And you kind of considered some of the things that the industry's doing to respond to it. We're going to continue this series on the capacity crunch, where we're going to get deeper into what exactly can cause any capacity crunch, so you're aware of that for future capacity crunches and how you deal with them. We'll also talk about how technology and different strategies can help you thrive and survive. We'll then finalize the series in talking about how you can look towards expert help, like a third-party logistics company, to really make sure that you not only survive and thrive in a capacity crunch, but that you're really sustaining that excellent ability to manage your transportation costs and practices. Make sure you don't miss a single episode of Talking Freight every Friday. Hit that subscribe button and hit the bell to make sure you get an email when we publish each Friday. Make sure you follow us here on social media. We post a lot of good content from other sources around the transportation industry, as well as posts from our blog and, of course, our educational ebooks. Thank you for staying tuned with us this week on Talking Freight, and we hope you have a great weekend.